Thank you, Dan. Welcome, everyone. It is 6 minutes after 6 o'clock in the morning. It is Wednesday, May 29th, 2019, 42 degrees outside. Shane Tobin on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Half man, half amazing. How you doing, man?
I have to salute you. You have your hat on today.
I do have my hat on today. And Tom Ingolf, your morning mayor in the house, and this is the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane, and we're happy to have you along with us. Thanks very much for joining us. If you want to be a part of the big broadcast today, 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255, or you can text us at 478-8298, or you can use our app message, brand new over there, AM 1450 KMMS. If you're listening to us on your smartphone right now, if you look in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see 3 bars up there. Click on that and click on the logo, and you will see a button where you can listen to us, and you'll see a new button where you can message us. So you never miss a part of the program by messaging us or messing with us or whatever. So we're happy to have that service for you. So 3 ways you can reach us very easily and quickly and let us know your thoughts if you don't want to be on the air, and that's fine. Hey, we want to hear from you anyway, so any way we can interact with you, that's fine. Mountain Valley weather this morning, we're looking at a high of 69 degrees today, overnight low of 42. It's going to be mostly sunny, hardly any chance of rain at all, Shane. I can't believe it. No rain. It wasn't rain when I came in. Nice crescent moon showing. I could see the outline of the mountains as the sun was coming up, so I don't know if I'm going to see sun in my eyes before we get out of here or not.
Do you still get that pink hue on the mountaintops with the snow?
Snow's pretty well off the mountaintops right now,
Is
at least
it gone?
locally. At least locally, yeah. We've had warm
Is it
weather.
really? Oh, wow.
Well, there's some up on Baldy a little bit and Sacagawea,
Yeah.
but anyway, not
She's
too
still
much.
around?
She is, yeah. She's still here, yeah. She's still kicking. She's got a food truck down by the the dollar store.
Well, that's great.
Yeah,
Glad.
I thought so. All right, on Thursday, we're looking for a high of 72 degrees, mostly sunny, 47 the overnight low, very little chance of precip, less than 20%. Friday, though, thunderstorms will move in the afternoon. 67 will be the high, 45 the overnight low, and about a 50% chance of afternoon thunderstorms coming in. Saturday, though, looks pretty good. 72 will be the high, 48 the overnight low, mostly cloudy. And Sunday looks really good, 74 and 49 and partly cloudy. Very little chance of precip on Sunday, so it should be a pretty nice day. Monday, again, 74 and 49. Mostly sunny there. Very little chance of any precip. If there is any, it'll be late afternoon, early evening. And Tuesday, 72 and 48. Mostly sunny all day on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Then the rain moves in on Friday next week of the, or a week from tomorrow. A week from the day after tomorrow, I should say. A high of 70 degrees, though. So we're getting into the 70s and spring's starting to come, Shane, a little bit.
Yeah, well, at least you're not under 3 feet of water.
Well, that's for sure. Yeah, like half the nation is.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Temperatures around the area right now, 36 degrees and sunny in Livingston. Manhattan is 39, Three Forks 37, and Gallup Gateway is 38. Ennis is 37, and Gardner is 33. Big Sky is 32 degrees at the airport in Belgrade. Right now it's 39 degrees and sunny. And at 10 minutes after the hour, it is 42 degrees at our lavishly appointed downtown studio. So we're pretty happy with that. So hopefully we're heading for a high of 69 today, which should be nice. So
there you go.
Rock and roll, baby. Rock and roll.
It's time to get excited.
Yeah. Yeah. If we could just get rid of rain, snow, cold, and wind, we're set. Right. We're set. 1765 on this date, Patrick Henry denounced the Stamp Act before Virginia's House of Burgesses, saying, if this be treason, make the most of it. I guess that's the same as Rahm Emanuel saying, if there's a crisis, make the most of it. Huh? Make the best of your crisis.
Yeah, that's
So,
right. And then he was in the Second Virginia Convention, 1775, where he declared, "Give me liberty
or,
or give me death," and he was the
that's right.
founding father.
That's right.
Yeah,
And wrote a bunch of things too. The Patrick Henry
that's
writings
right.
of the time were pretty popular. So,
He was the first and sixth colonial governor of Virginia,
hmm
and regrettably, he was like a lot of founding fathers, and he found himself in the later years bankrupt
yeah,
and
bankrupt
poor.
and
Died
penniless.
in
Yeah.
died poor, yeah.
1790, Rhode Island became the last of the original 13 colonies to ratify the United States Constitution. Why did they stop at 13, I wonder? How come the 14th didn't? How come we don't have the 14 original colonies or the 15 original colonies?
It was a
Why they
it
stop
was
at
a,
13?
it was a lucky number.
Okay.
Good
The
cheese.
flag would be too big?
Yeah, that's
Is
right.
that it?
That's right. So the state did boycott the 1787 convention
Mm,
about the Constitution. Um, it was ratified September 17th, 1787, and then it took until 1789, September 25th, for them to ratify the Bill of Rights. And
mm.
finally, December 15th, 1791, they were both confirmed by two-thirds of the 13 states. Well, actually, all of them.
All the 12 states, I guess, at the time, because they were
Yeah,
13th. So,
they were 13.
yeah. Well, in 1848, Wisconsin became the 30th original colony of the Union.
That's
So,
right.
so
And a remarkable thing about Wisconsin was all the Germans, during the 20th century that went to Wisconsin and Ellis
hmm
Island and jumped to Wisconsin and became milk farmers, and which is their fame. And
hmm
the dairy farms in Wisconsin are, it's like the milk center of America. Wisconsin, Minnesota, and
hmm
yeah, it's pretty eggs with milk, cheese,
Yeah,
and that cream you put in your coffee.
yeah, yeah. Come to Wisconsin, smell our derriere.
Derriere, that's
That's
right.
it. Yeah, that's it. All right.
They definitely have a cow problem.
Yeah,
Ah,
they definitely do. 1917, John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, was born in Brookline, Massachusetts.
that's right. And what a remarkable career he had. Again, first term senator, and
Yeah.
decided to run. Johnson was angry. Johnson was the majority leader in the Senate, had been, and he was from Texas, and that's why Kennedy picked him. And the reason I only mention this because Johnson had the Constitution of Texas changed so he could go on the ballot as to run for Senate again,
hmm
in case he lost the presidency with Kennedy, because they thought they were going to lose, as
Yeah.
you know.
To Nixon. Yeah.
But they didn't. They
Yep.
didn't. They didn't.
They didn't lose. So, yeah. And Johnson went on, of course, to be president when Kennedy was assassinated. So,
That's right.
1942, Bing Crosby recorded Irving Berlin's White Christmas in Los Angeles for Decca Records. And I don't know, at one time that was the most sold record of all time. I don't know if it still is or not, but
It
at one
is.
time it
It is.
was, I think. Yeah.
It
So,
still is. Yeah.
all right. White Christmas, Bing
That's
Crosby.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And written by Irving
hmm
Berlin, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The and Decca Records, the recording company that turned down the Beatles, that said guitar bands were out. Nobody wanted to listen to them anymore. So there you go. So that
that's
guy's
right.
penniless and bankrupt right now.
Right, he probably is. Yeah.
1998, President Ronald Reagan began his first visit to the Soviet Union as he arrived in Moscow for a superpower summit with Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev.
As the saying goes, only Nixon could go to China.
There you are.
You know,
Well,
he was a glorified
hmm
right conservative,
yeah.
and survived the terrible un-American committee meetings in the 50s, and after vice president for 8 years, he ran for president, and of course he had to make his famous speech about how his wife has just a normal wool coat.
Yeah. Why are we talking about Nixon when we're talking about Reagan?
Oh, because he was just a forerunner of opening up Russia.
Okay. Well, yeah, he did. He did open China, I guess.
No, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
So.
Reagan did open China, and now, of course, you've got this whole situation with China, which is We should talk about it maybe today a little bit. The one point I always like to make is that you've been here before. You went through this. The U.S. went through this with Japan in the 50s and 60s, 70s and 80s.
Hmm.
We saw how that ended up. So I don't think the Chinese are really in a good position right now. But we'll see. As your president says, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. 1990, Boris Yeltsin was elected president of Russia Republic by the Russian Parliament back in 1990 on this date.
Hmm.
And in 1990,
Well,
go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Okay.
Next.
Well, 1999, the Space Shuttle Discovery completed the first docking with the International Space Station.
Yes, indeed. Rockwell International built it. They got the contract for this shuttle in 1979, January 29, and it took them 5 years. That's how long it took them to build it. Its first flight, STS-41-D, 1984, August 30th.
Wow. In 2001, 4 followers of Osama bin Laden, over the cough, were convicted in New York of a global conspiracy to murder Americans, including the 1998 bombing of the 2 embassies in Africa that killed 224 people. All were sentenced to life in prison.
Yeah, unlike the American that went and fought with them. Well,
mm-hmm. Yeah. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, I know. That caused a big stir.
2004, a memorial to America's World War II veterans was dedicated on the National Mall in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, and this is really remarkable because of the nature of the war and how long it took.
Mm-hmm.
They did do the Vietnam War in honor of your work and your efforts to protect the country. But last weekend was the second year for the Poppy Wall, which was really amazing. They had a wall of poppies with what do you call the clear plastic? I can't think of it. Anyway, and it was full of poppies, one representing every soldier that's been lost, every American been lost since in every major war fought. Over 500,000.
Wow, that's a lot of poppies. Yeah,
that was a lot of poppies.
All right. Well, we got to take care of our ranchers, farmers, cab drivers, truck drivers, bartenders, anybody that delivers clothes, food, or booze to you. So
yeah, that's right.
So we'll be right back, right after Montana News and Ag. 25 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m. It's Wednesday, May 29th, 2019, 42 degrees outside. We're looking for a high of 69 degrees today. Welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And we've got callers calling in, Shane. So, hey, let's take some phone calls, shall we? Why not, huh? 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Caller, you are not there. So, okay. Well, we'll keep on rocking then with the day in history. 2005, French voters soundly rejected the European Union's proposed constitution. How come I don't hear you? I don't hear you, Shane. I'm not sure why. Say something. No, I'm not getting you for some reason. Let's see. Let's try that. How's that?
Is that the phone?
That's better. Okay, there we go. I'm sorry, I got the wrong slide up. So.
Oh, okay.
Okay, caller's trying again. So let's see what we get. Caller, you are on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Yeah, it was Mark Ward. I listen to you guys when I'm doing my newspapers.
All right.
Yeah, the one thing they had the other day, I'm trying to remember about, that what we need to do is make sure that when laws are enacted, that our representatives make sure they're carried out, because there was a law enacted about burning slash piles after logging.
Yes.
That they're supposed to turn firewood cutters loose on them first.
Well, I had no idea, but that makes sense.
Yeah, I own and run my own little firewood business.
Yeah.
And
Has that changed? You can't do that any longer, or they just burn them without notice, or?
yeah, they just burn them without notice.
Oh, well, I don't know. Maybe it's a time issue, or it's a safety issue for the forest. I don't know.
Well, what happens is the loggers claim that they have to burn them, but you burn a pile of 3 times the size of a full-size pickup.
Yeah.
Look at all that pollution.
Well, that'd be true, certainly. Yeah, it would.
When they burn it that way, they get more carbon in the atmosphere than if somebody does it in a wood-burning stove.
Yeah.
So tell me, what do you sell a cord of wood for these days?
Well, I can't tell you what I sell for, but the average is about $220.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Not cheap.
No.
Look at it this way. It's a renewable resource.
It is,
I know.
absolutely. It's a renewable resource, absolutely.
Oh, I remember now. Those people who bought that 400 acres, what are they going to do about the deadwood on it?
Well, that's the question we had. Are they going to be responsible for fires on it? Or are they going to be responsible for pruning it and, keeping it up? Or are they just going to let it sit there and burn?
Well, there's another law in place that if they don't trim out the deadwood, they can get hit with a major league fine.
Yeah.
Well, and it's amazing because biomass in your electric grid produces 1.5% of your electricity, solar 1.6.
Yeah.
So
wood
burning in landfill gas produces almost more electricity in your country than solar power does.
There you are. I like it.
And you look at it this way: a cord of firewood produces $800 worth of heat.
There you go. Hey, that's good. That's good. Good information to know. Hey, I'm up against.
Here's the funny part about it: if they get a lightning strike, like you guys said, are they going to cover the houses that are burned because of it?
Boy, that's a question we've been asking a long time ever since this thing popped up. So I'm sorry, I'm up against the bottom of the hour. I got to go. But hey, thanks for calling. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it very much.
You bet.
All right. Take care. All right.
Bye.
We'll be right back right after this. 23 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Wednesday, May 29, 2019, 44 degrees outside, looking for a high of 69 today. And Chima Taubman on the line with me. And I want to welcome you to the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And, in 2005, I guess, huh, Shane? French voters soundly rejected the European Union's proposed constitution, and the French just voted again, actually.
And they did with European congressional elections or representative elections. And the far right gained, massive numbers. And it looks like the red wave of the liberals in the European, the EU, has fallen to the wayside. Nationalism is now the property of the people in Europe once again.
Yep, they've had it with the immigration. They've had it with the EU, all the restrictions and all the rules and all that stuff. And they finally said enough is enough, and particularly in Paris, where they've been demonstrating for months, in their yellow vests. So 2009, Jay Leno ended his first stint as host of The Tonight Show. Following a short-lived primetime show, Leno was back on NBC's Tonight Show as a mainstay in February of 2010. So, I don't know if he made it as far as Carson did, 30 years, but
no.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember Carson. I'd be too old to remember both of them.
but Carson gave him the sunshine and the light. That was the one thing Carson was famous for, is promoting comedians, and Jay Leno was one of them.
Well, and they passed over David Letterman too, who was very upset about that. He thought he was the heir apparent to the Tonight Show, and eventually went over to CBS and became a competitor, but was never able to unseat Leno anyway.
No.
Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Okay, well, we're not having good luck with the phones this morning.
No, people aren't holding on.
Yeah, apparently not. So
hold on till he pushes the magic button.
Yeah, geez, give me a break here.
Yeah.
2010, Philadelphia pitcher Roy Halladay, not Holiday, Halladay, Halladay, through the 20th perfect game in Major League history, beating the Florida Marlins 1-0. And another name that did quite a feat that no one knows or will probably ever remember, other than Philly fans. Philly fans will remember it.
Unless you're a baseball enthusiast.
Yeah. Let's try the phones one more time. Caller, you're on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Wow, I didn't expect you to answer so quickly.
Well, hey, I'm on it.
I was about to hang up, and you caught me. I've been prank calling you.
Okay.
How you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Good. France went far right, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Miss Penn. Yeah, Miss Penn.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they call it far right?
Well, they're more conservative than Macron by a long shot.
Yeah, that's right.
But, I mean, all you have to do is be a centrist, really, to be
well, that's true.
right of anybody in Europe.
That's true. I mean, yeah. If you're left of center, you're John Wayne.
Right.
Right.
That whole far right thing, the left uses that to make it sound like the right wing extremists,
Or alt-right.
And-
Alt-right's another one they use, too.
Alt-right, yeah.
Alt-right, yeah, and far right.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality of it is anybody that loves their country and considers themselves an American or a Frenchman or German or Scotsman, they're all crazy, insane, racist. They just go. It just triggers them into this crazy mental state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that used to be just the norm.
Yeah.
And before that, it used to be I'm a Montanan, or I'm a Kentuckian.
Right.
People were more concerned about their individual state rather than the nationality, their nation state.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of nice to see that maybe we're kind of going to revert back to that, because I'm proud as hell to be a Montanan.
Me too.
I love this state, and I hate the Californians in it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that it identifies you. I've lived all over this country, and I'll tell you what, there's a difference between a Nevadan and a Montanan and a Nebraskan and a Texan.
Sure.
We're all different.
Well,
and we're not much. So, yeah, it's nice to hear it, man, and I hope you guys have a great day. It looks like it's going to be beautiful out there.
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking for almost 70 degrees. So, hey, thanks for the call.
Yeah.
All right. Well, believe it or not, we have no breaks this half hour. No breaks at all. So we're not going to have a break at 40. We're not going to have a break at 50. So we're going to rock and roll straight on through till the top of the hour. So there you go.
So not Nigel Farage of the Brexit Party, he formed it in England and won the vote to leave the EU.
Yep.
He also led the Brexit Party to this huge win, which crushed the Tories and the Liberals in England.
Yeah.
He's been a member of the EU for 20 years, so now he's going to resign his seat, go back to England, and start a third party. And he believes that in the next election, he could get a majority government. Marie Le Pen defeated Emmanuel Macron's party in these elections, she's a conservative in France. And now she looks positioned to compete in the next elections in France. So
Italy too. Italy had an election also. So we got that one as well. So.
And with the demise of the Democratic Party under the leadership of Pelosi, you'd think one of these billionaires would figure this out in the U.S. Like Bloomberg or the guy from the coffee company, whatever.
Yeah.
And start a third party just to get the recognition in this election.
Mm-hmm. Schultz is running as an independent from Starbucks.
Yes, but this is a chance for one of these guys to actually start a third party, which would absorb the Democratic Party, because they're in trouble.
Well, they are. I'm not sure you can start a third party in the United States without. I mean, Ross Perot was the most successful one at it because he was well known and he was a billionaire. But
and I'm not suggesting it for that reason, Tom. We're watching American history real time. What I'm saying is that the Democratic Party is a regional government, and with this stuff happening, if it collapses, someone could step in with a second party to take over the Democratic Party and move it into a new liberal party that's less liberal, so to speak.
Well, maybe, but seems like AOC and the Muslim gal and a couple others have moved pretty well left and dragging Pelosi and Schumer with her, with them. So boy, and a lot of the candidates are starting to spout the free college, the free this, free that, free everything, and that's. Yeah, I don't know. Let's take a phone call and see what the callers have to say. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on the air. What's going on?
Well, this is Colonel Clink this morning.
Yeah.
I got to change it around here because what I'm about to say, I got two things to say. You're going to think that I'm Colonel Clink,
All right.
First of all, I've been vindicated over the UFOs.
Well, good. All right. Good deal.
And the reason I'm saying that is because this morning, before I was listening to Tom and Shane, I had CBS News on. And there's a gal come on there and showed the pilots their pictures off of their gun cameras and their jets.
Yes.
And showed the UFOs, and they told all about them. They finally allowed it to happen. So I feel vindicated for the ones I seen in 1967. And the next thing I wanted to say, I'm not a Democrat anymore. I'm not a Republican anymore. I'm a nothing. But there's one woman out there, and that's going to run for office, I'm sure. And her name's Kathleen Williams, and I do know her.
Yep.
And I hope that she runs for Gianforte's seat. Now, she has to run under a Democratic ticket. I know that.
That's her plan. I think she is planning to run, as far as I know. I don't know if she's announced.
I hope she does. Anyway,
I think she will.
She's very smart, Tom.
Well, she is. She's a little. Well, if you go to YouTube and listen to any of her speeches, she's pretty left, though.
She is, but she's kind of an independent. I don't think she's a Democrat or. She leans on both ways. Yeah.
Well, she's pretty anti-gun, though.
Well, that's what the press says and what she said a time or two, but I don't really believe it.
Well,
but she said it on the TV that she.
I was gonna say all I've got to go by is her speeches, and
I understand that.
She made a few of those pretty evident that she doesn't like guns all that much.
Well, there's a lot of people don't like them, but they're a necessity, and we have to have them.
That's true.
That's what keeps the country free, and that's what keeps our tyrannical government away from us.
Well, if someone interviews her, ask her if she's ever fired a gun.
Yeah, there you are.
Oh, yeah, she has. But the thing is, getting back to these UFOs I call them. There's been a lot of talk about it. I think it's coming out now to where that we're not alone anymore. And people that for years and years have said that it was all BS, these UFOs, but they're not. And I've known it since 1967. But the thing is I'm glad. That's going to be a big story when it's completely out. Now, CBS News this morning advertised it, or had a big spiel about it. And I think that we're going to find out a lot of things here in the next few years, if I'm around, to what is really in this universe, and if there's other beings in the universe, which I do believe there is. But anyway, that's my belief.
Hard to believe in a universe the size of ours, we're the only.
That's right. That's right, Tom.
I will give you my theory on this.
Okay.
My theory is that with the distances, the amazing distances, time travel and getting from one planet to another without going through wormholes or whatever is pretty difficult.
That's right.
I think
and it's cold.
That's true too. I think that the UFOs that we're seeing are us from the future. And I have an excellent reason to believe that because I think the people from the future are coming back and changing the past. So, and I think what happened was Hillary was elected. they came back and said,
"Oh God!"
and said, "We got to get the Russians in on this."
Well, you know,
and that's the only explanation that makes sense as to why Donald Trump is president.
well, well, I'll tell you something. If anybody has ever read the Bible, you will find in there that the angels came from heaven.
Yep.
And it's all there. It's a story. The Bible is pretty much a true story, even though it was written a long time after the death of Jesus Christ. The New Testament is.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, it says in there about all of it, and about the angels coming down and breeding with the women here and creating giants and all that. Mm-hmm. And that's fact. That was all in the Bible. So if you believe the Bible.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying today is, you know, when I seen this UFO up at Ringling, Montana, it was hovered right above the Milwaukee Railroad tracks. It was at the Quigley place, and my 2 hired men were with me. And we went and loaded some hay on a wagon, and this thing was large. And we loaded the hay on the wagon, and it was after dinner, and that thing wasn't 300 or 400 feet above us. Never made a sound. It was the damnedest thing I ever seen in my entire life. If I lived to be 5,000 years old, which I won't, I couldn't hardly believe it. And after we left, and we crossed a 16-mile creek, and them days you could go across it with a tractor. Now I don't know if you can anymore. But anyway, we went across with the pickup and the wagon and went up through the gate and went back home. And we waved to them as we went out the gate. When Barney shut the gate, or Andy, I forget which one did. And then they slowly lifted off, and that thing went like a shot, just like you'd have shot a rifle. And then a woman from Helena, Montana, wrote a book about the UFOs. I forget her name. And then another thing is, my uncle used to be the principal head of the Hughes Air West in Great Falls. And I went up in the tower in Great Falls. He took me up in the tower, and he said, "You're talking about UFOs." And the guy at the tower, there's 2 guys in the tower there, and they were showing us about the UFOs that was north and east of, in the sky above Great Falls. They'd come in, and then our jets would take off. 2 jets would take off after them. And it showed the jets on the radar screen taking after him. And they'd get within a couple of miles of them, and them things would disappear like a rocket. And they were big as hotels, a lot of them.
Wow.
Now, that there sounds like a far-fetched story. It sounds like that Colonel Klink is lying like hell. But Colonel Klink ain't lying. And it's a fact.
Well, I think one of the fascinating things is that we find out just last month that since 2014, the Navy has changed the designation from UFO to UAP, unexplained aerial phenomena.
Yeah.
But that 2014, that's 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, this one I was there and looking at it was in 1967. Well, no, it wasn't. I took my daughter up to the heart doctor there in Great Falls. Me and a pilot friend of mine, we flew up. But anyway, it was hard for me to believe, and it was hard for Andy and Barney, Andy Harrington and Barney Nelson, my 2 hired men, to believe too. And then we seen him again over here on the Madison River, I did, and about 27 other people. And I've said this before, right there by the bridge, as you cross the Madison River up there on the hill, there it was, just as plain as day. We lost cattle. I lost 1 cow, 1 registered cow, from whatever, I don't know, the cattle mutilation. And then in Ennis, Montana, in the Madisonian paper, the sheriff, Roy Kitson, was the sheriff there, and they went plumb crazy trying to run down all of these cattle mutilations there in Madison County, and it's all in the newspapers, you know. So it isn't BS. It's Colonel Klink's telling you the truth. And then in Greeley, Colorado, they had a lot of mutilations, and the thing that was so strange about the cow that I lost was this. It had evidently been picked up and taken somewhere, and the blood drained out of it, and it took the bag off the cow, the vagina, that the tongue and the part of the lips. And the sheriff come down and took a picture of all this here. But the strange part of it was there wasn't a drop of blood. The grass wasn't tore up around it or anything, and it had a white cover over it. Yeah, kind of a membrane, like a spider runs a web,
Mm-hmm.
and it was white. Now this, I'm telling you, is all fact, and it can be verified by the Madison County Sheriff's Office, if they go back in their archives and look, and the Madisonian paper, and the papers in Greeley, Colorado. This is all fact, I'm telling you. And, it's kind of, we're not alone. And I've known it for a long time.
Well, the fascinating thing about it, true, is that a lot of sightings, there have been sightings historically, but a lot more were in the late 40s after the world went nuclear. So
that's right.
That's a correlation that I think it needs to be looked at, because there are even Montana, your airport in Great Falls had a sighting back in the 60s.
Well, yeah, I was there. That's what I was telling you.
Malmstrom Air Force Base.
That's where I was. That's where I was when I was Mr. Moss, my uncle, took me up there. Buddy Moss is his name, and he took me into the tower. You couldn't get in there without somebody in the, and I'd seen it. And people can believe it or not, but you're right, Shane. It was at Maelstrom. They talked a lot about it, and they shut down. If you remember when they shut down the missiles up there?
Yep, the Minutemen.
Yep, and they couldn't figure out what the hell happened when they shut all the missiles down. Well, that's what happened. That's what they concluded, that it was something that they didn't know about that shut them down.
Maybe they'll do something about global warming to save us within 12 years.
Well, let me tell you something. I think that this Earth, my personal belief, is setting out here like a big, beautiful blue ball. And I do believe that it's probably one of the finest places in this great, big, huge universe. And I tell you, we'd better take care of it. We better forget about going to Mars and every other place. We better start taking care of our own home.
Well, yeah. Look at over 2/3 of the planet is covered in water, and only 10% of the ocean's been explored. Like, it's crazy.
That's right. We go to space, blow all that money up there. Okay, I don't understand this. At 20,000 feet, it's 30 below zero. Now, we've got to take care of this little world that we live in, and we're a small world compared to the rest of this universe. Don't you agree, Tom?
Oh yeah.
Now, why are we trying to go into space? Are we trying to prove the Bible wrong, or what is the purpose? Do you want to ruin this country and go to Mars and someplace to start another place you can ruin?
The answer that's easy, Clint. Money. Yeah. Spend money.
Isn't that something? The money's driving the whole world. That's crazy, Shane. It isn't about people anymore. People in our surroundings and stuff where we live. It is so. Look at this morning when the sun comes up. It is so beautiful. My God, you're living in Montana. The air is pure until the smoke comes in. But it's just gorgeous. Where in the world, in this big universe, can you find anything to replicate it? You see? People.
Well, based on what you're saying, we may find out sooner than you think.
That's right. And I didn't want... the only reason I called about these UFOs is I was vindicated this morning when CBS News brought it on, and their pilots. They brought the pilots on, and the pilots told their own story. And so I felt very well vindicated, and so I'll shut up, and
all right.
I'll pretend I'm Mr. Schultz. You know who he was?
I know nothing, man. I know nothing.
I'll tell you, you can say what you want, but Colonel Clank and Schultz, I got the biggest kick out of that program.
Still on.
Yeah, and Archie Bunker.
Yep.
Boy, he was a little radical, Archie Bunker was. But anyway, thanks a lot, guys.
All
I
right.
really enjoy the
program.
Have a good one.
Take it easy.
And have a nice day.
All right. Well, there. See, that's the advantage of having no breaks. You just. Well, let's see. From our text line, let's see. It says, Jesus Christ, we ain't voting for communists just because you know them, for Pete's sakes, Clint. And for another one, I wanted to remind everyone they have 8 days left to comment on the Forest Service travel plan, where they're trying to shut the forest off by half of all motor vehicle. And as a crippled sportsman, I'm greatly affected by these laws, also by them making a wilderness that means no bicycles or wheelchairs. Just wanted to get the word out. So I would go over and check that out. We had the forest travel plan lady on one of our shows. I was trying to look for it. Couldn't find it. I'm not sure how long ago that was. But anyway, attend the meeting and get the straight facts and find out what's going on and voice your opinion. So, all right, that wraps it up for this hour. Mike McCormick will join us in the 8 o'clock hour. And, of course, when we come back, we'll try and do 5 things you need to know. So we got to do some things about Bozeman and also Livingston and other stuff. So we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. 4 minutes after the hour of 7 a.m. It's Wednesday, May 29, 2019, and Shane Matobin on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Half man, half amazing. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor in the house. Welcome you to the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And, well, from our text line, I have a lot of respect for Colonel Clink, but he might want to pull his blinders off with regard to Kathleen Williams. There's a reason she runs as a Democrat. Okay, I'm putting my whiskey in my coffee now, Clint. It is far too early in the AM for you to freak us out this bad. Just kidding, I believe. And let's see, I think we got everything else caught up. Yep, we got all our text messages caught up. If you want to text us, 478-8298, or you can text us on our new message thing on your smartphone. If you're listening to the program on your smartphone right now, up in the left-hand corner, you'll see 3 bars. Click on that. Click on the logo, and it'll take you back to the original screen where you click to listen to us. And right next to listen to us is a message. And you can hit that and message us without missing a beat on the program. So
and check out the mayor's poll question for the day, because the Righteous Eagle Man has a great question.
We have a poll question today, and that is America ready for its first African-American woman president? And your answers are yes, no, or yes, but not Camilla. So, I don't know. Is the lady from Georgia running?
No.
I don't think she is. Yeah, she was. She still thinks she's governor of Georgia.
Yeah, she's still. Yeah.
Still debating that she was ripped off or whatever. But
yeah,
anyway.
She's still walking around as a wannabe.
Yeah. So, but anyway. So it was interesting last night. They showed the folks who are going to be on the debate stage. Bullock didn't make it with. Bullock hasn't earned any money yet, so he's not going to be there. But I think 13 of the 22 are going to be there, something like that. 13 or 14 of the 22 have earned enough money or enough support, I guess, from their constituents to make it on stage. And some surprising ones. There was, one of the women was interviewed last night on one of the shows, and I had never even heard of her. So we'll see. But she's going to be on the stage, so we'll see how that goes. So.
Well, the fellow Reed Yang that's running, he's you should read about his ideas.
I've seen a couple interviews with him. He's way out there. He is. Yeah, he wants to give money to everybody. He's right up there with Bernie and the boys. Yeah.
Well, he wants to prepare for AI, because we should talk about it maybe tomorrow, because of the massive recorrection of the workforce in your country in the next 50 years is going to be significant with the artificial intelligence. And his suggestion is to heavily tax companies like Amazon and
tax
Facebook.
Robots.
And
he wants to tax the robots.
That's right.
Yeah. Let's tax
robot companies with robots and then use that money to pay Americans. Yeah, it's quite fascinating.
Well, the next thing you know, you have to give robots vacation. You'll have to give them maternity leave. You'll have to give them, all that stuff. Whatever. So, looking forward to it. Well, I'm not as fearful of this automation as everybody else is, I think. And you have to go, I guess living a long time, you observe things, which you and I have. We've been around the block. And I'm, I always harken back to construction. They built the Empire State Building in less than a year, Shane, something like that? I mean,
right.
But they also, they didn't have OSHA. They didn't have, I don't know how many people died on that building, but a few did, a few fell off of it. And, they got it done with minimum restrictions and inspections and all the other stuff that go along with construction today. But I've always said that, in the 1920s or 30s, if you wanted to build a house, you had 20 or 25 guys go out and dig a basement by hand. And now a guy with a backhoe does it in half an hour.
That's right.
So where do those 20 people go? 20 or 25 people go? They went somewhere.
And found work.
Yeah. So they went somewhere and found work. And I doubt if there's a construction site in Bozeman that uses a hammer and nail. They all have a nail gun, particularly if they're doing a roof or doing any framing or anything like that. Now for, inside work, they might use a hammer and nail for finishing work and stuff like that. But, I think in the most part, nobody hand saws anything anymore. You got a skill saw to do that with a laser sighting on it.
Or hand screws drywall. They all have,
Well, yeah, you got nobody uses a screwdriver anymore. So we got all those things, and all of those things have replaced 2 or 3 guys because one guy can, frame a house in a couple of days or less. I'm not a construction expert on how long it takes to frame a house, but I know a little bit about putting, you put 2x4s together or either aluminum or wood and stand them up and nail them in place, So.
Yeah, back in the 70s, I did drywall work and learned how to walk around on those stilts. But, today, 4 guys can do a house,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did.
We had a crew of 20 people back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And automation is doing the same thing. Henry Ford had something like 14,000 workers on his assembly line in the Ford plant, and now there's probably a couple of hundred maybe that put out a car every minute and a half, something like that. Mm-hmm. And the welding's done by robots, the painting's done by robots, the assembly is done in some parts by people, but they're directing huge machines to put the seats in and put the dash in and put the tires on and all that, and put the whole thing together. Where a guy used to with a horse drag the car down the assembly line. So,
yeah, they use all power tools for everything.
Yeah, for everything. So they've got a thing that'll what they do 5 lug nuts at once or whatever. So yeah, everything's designed for that model car, and it all goes together pretty flawlessly. And every minute or so, a car rolls off the line. And
well, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And the big problem that AI has and electric cars is electricity.
Mm-hmm.
Your grid's running at 110% now, and it's not enough electricity. So
well, that's the other thing. Well, as we've talked about, alternative energies will come eventually.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have alternative energies. I predict that electricity will be broadcast to your house just like this radio station is broadcast to your radio.
That's right.
You'll just have a receiver for electricity in your vehicle or home or wherever, mm-hmm. and the electricity will just be taken out of the air because we know there's electricity in the air. Wouldn't be lightning or anything else. Scratch your head with a balloon and learn something.
Well, yeah, the whole system right now is direct current, and it's very inefficient. So someone will mm-hmm. come up with the alternating current to deliver electricity to homes, and that'll be the big game changer.
That will be a big game changer. Yeah, our batteries will be the other one, storage batteries of some kind. Yeah. So let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, thanks for listening. You're on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Good morning, fellas. It's AW.
Hey, W, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm just here to confirm Colonel Klink's stories.
Okay.
I know people from Ennis, been there a long time, and many of them tell stories of cattle mutilations.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually seen myself personally sitting here on 19th and Oak. You overlook the Bridgers, and we're here in the covered wagon, and I've seen little lights that streaming across the sky that stop on a dime, and then shoot, boom, like a rocket,
Mm-hmm.
out of the picture, and thank God I had a friend of mine was over that night to confirm it. I'm like, did you just see what I just saw? And he's like, yeah, man, that was crazy. I'm like, so, I mean, the UFO thing it's such an interesting thing that, I don't know, they've taken polls about, like, people believing in UFOs and whatever and whatnot, but, like, all through the Bible, I mean, they actually talk about it in the Bible, and I think it's in Genesis where they talk about the Nephilim. They come down from the heavens and took the hands of the daughters of man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's just an interesting thing. And I've heard stories of like religious men that talk about it and like go, well, if UFOs are real, what's that mean to the? But well, I mean, guys that are religious men say like, listen, God created them too.
Yeah. Well, the amazing thing about the Bible, the Old Testament. It's the only book of prophecy that exists, and it's been proven to be true. The prophecies, and Genesis 1 starts out with, God saying, "Let there be light." And if you believe in the Big Bang theory, what better way to explain it to people than to tell them?
Yeah.
Bam!
Yeah.
There you go. Bam.
True, but I just wanted to confirm those stories. A lot of people in Ennis have these stories of cattle mutilations and not a drop of blood and the whole thing and like that, like he was saying. It's like, and it's not unique to Montana, but I mean,
no, the stories have been around forever. I mean, they've been around as long as I've been around, I think.
Yeah, but
well, if these parts of the cow are the only parts that aliens eat, great, we got that problem solved. They don't want us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the reason why they take the udders and stuff like that is for procreation.
Studying reproduction.
Right. Right. They've evolved so much that they're on the back end of evolution, and they're trying to get back, because they're all like the Borg. They're all the same. They're all the Greys or whatever, that one species. But they say that they take the udders and these kind of things because they're trying to study and trying to de-evolve, trying to go backwards.
Well, and keep in mind that this planet is carbon-based in its life form. So that's all we know.
Yeah.
We don't know if sentient beings can exist in other formats, other than carbon-based,
Right. Yeah. So.
All right. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
All right. Yep. We got to go. Actually, I think what you saw above the Bridgers was Shane and I testing out our DeLorean. So we were checking it out. Yeah. So
Back to the Future, baby.
All right. Well, phones are ringing. We've got to take a break. Noxatril warning. Be the second ad. So be astute. 30 seconds to Noxatril. We'll be right back. All right, it is 19 minutes after the hour of 7 a.m. It's Wednesday, May 29, 2019, 52 degrees outside. We're looking for a high of 69 today, so hopefully we'll get there. We got a caller waiting on the line, and caller, you are on the air with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Good morning, gentlemen. It's Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Well, I like this subject. I've done a fantastic amount of research on aliens, UFOs,
all right,
mutilations and stuff. I just find the subject fascinating. I've always been a skeptic. I've never seen a UFO. I've never seen a cattle mutilation. So I'm very skeptical about all the stories I hear. However, I'm also curious. and so I like to do my own research. So there's a name out there. Her name is Linda Moulton Howe. And this lady has been studying cow mutilations for close to 40 years. She's an accredited academic. She has done very serious reporting before she got into mutilation stuff. And her documentation of the cattle mutilation that's happened around the country is astounding. If you have any bit of skepticism within yourself about the stories that you hear, well, then do some research. Look up Linda Moulton Howe. She has a website called theearthfiles.com, and there is a phenomenal amount of research, scientific research regarding cattle mutilations. Inform yourself. It's not difficult. The information's out there. Earlier, you guys discussed, why are we trying to go to Mars? Why are we going to space? And we were talking about money. I think it's a little more than that, though. Humans are curious creatures. We explore. If I see a place I've never been before, I want to go there. If I've climbed a mountain 100 times, but I've never been in that gorge, I'm going to go down there just to see. We're an incredibly curious species. We've always explored. We have a couple millennia of history of humans taking amazing conquests and risks of life just to explore. So I think that in the long run, our desire to reach space, to go to Mars, to spread ourselves out is based solely on humans' need to explore. And then there's one other thing I just wanted to touch on real quick. You also mentioned as to why we might be seeing aliens or UFOs or whatever. What interest would they have in us? Well, first of all, we cannot possibly judge a species that's so advanced it has the capacity to travel through space, light years through space. We can't even comprehend. It's like an ant trying to figure out what humans are doing when we're contemplating what other species would be doing. Their technology development is so advanced, it makes our TVs and our nukes and all that stuff look like child's play. But I think that they would be interested in us because, we're like that anthill. Let's study this. Let's see what happens when a species reaches a point of evolution where they learn how to split the atom. What are they going to do? Are they going to blow themselves up? I think it's a matter of we would be like a curious science experiment. Let's study, and just see what's going on this planet with these crazy creatures. It's that curiosity, I think, that's innate in most species. Curiosity killed the cat. Well, we know it's just a basis of carbon-based life forms. We're curious. We want to know. And I don't think that'd be too different across the entire universe. We have physics has told us that across the universe we have stable things like Fibonacci sequence exists across the universe. These are scientific basis. So why wouldn't something like curiosity also cross the universe? And throw a species that's got 1 million years of technological development on our 50 years of technological development, and you could see why we'd be like completely misunderstanding or not even able to comprehend what it is these flying thingies are in the sky.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anyway, gentlemen, I just had to go off a little bit on my perspective. I appreciate you letting me win my bag, and I hope you have a great day.
You too. Thanks for the call. All right. From our text line, 478-8298. Tom, do you read your emails anymore? I did this morning. I usually do them before the show when I get here. You read the emails. So if you got something in particular, give me a little more info. That's the only text we've got right now, Shane. So we'll continue on. We still haven't got to the 5 things you need to know, or the Bozeman or Livingston news yet. So maybe, but that's okay. Hey, Art Bell will continue after this. Well, it's always been in fact, on Coast to Coast this morning as I was driving in, somebody was saying they found spaceships 35 miles wide buried under Antarctica. So I don't know.
Well, there you go.
So what can I tell you? That's a pretty big spaceship, I guess.
That is
Couple of them.
They've
Couple
made
of them.
movies about it even.
Couple of them, 35 feet or 35 miles wide. So I don't know if Antarctica is 35 miles wide. I'm not sure how big it is, but I'm sure Shane will look that up and tell us. I know it's not a very big place. It ain't Australia.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
no, I mean, it's a large continent, but, it's covered in ice. We just don't know how big the continent underneath really is yet.
That's true. Well, it melts quite a bit in Australia or in Antarctica, though. I mean, there is a landmass there.
Oh, yeah, there's
You
a
know,
landmass.
yeah.
There's no question.
But I mean, it's a visible landmass at some of the time.
That's right.
Yeah. So, at any rate, well, we can get to a little bit of news, I guess. One is that I missed the Salary Commission meeting because they moved it to the morning rather than the afternoon, so I was stuck here. But the commissioners have unanimously approved a 3.5 pay raise for elected officials, including themselves, of course. And that, of course, means that the increase also affects the sheriff's deputies. They'll receive a 4.5% pay increase because they're paid a percentage of the elected sheriff's salary and because they receive a 1% increase for each year they work in the office. It's their longevity pay, and they're tied to the commissioner's pay as far as it's a convoluted mess, but yeah. So the sheriff is always there to give yourselves a raise, guys, so we can get one too. Let's take another phone call. 522 Talk is the number. Caller, you are on the air. What's going on?
Yes, Tom, this is Joel.
Hey, Joel, how you doing?
Hey, I worked at the Space Defense Center. It was many years ago for over 6 years.
Yeah.
Cataloging objects and all that. When kind of started out as an orbital analyst at Ant Air Force Base a long time ago, but it doesn't even exist anymore. And then went into NORAD Cheyenne Mountain. I never, in all the years I worked in the Space Defense Center in NORAD Cheyenne Mountain, I never heard one enlisted person, one senior officer, or a general ever talk about UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
That just, I'm going to come back some other morning with some other what I really think it is. I've called in. I don't think I ever got in on Art Bell.
Yeah.
But I do have a lot of programs I copied. There was a priest, retired priest by the name of Malachi Martin, and he's written a book called Hostage to the Devil. And that's all I'll say for right now. And I have the actual recording of when Art Bell used to have Father Malachi Martin on every so often. He really found the priest very intriguing, very Orthodox Catholic priest.
Yeah.
And I actually have it recorded one night. And I figured out years before I even heard that, all this swamp gas that I heard in high school way back when.
Weather balloons, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I figured it was demonic activity, and that's exactly what Malachi Martin told Art Bell that night or that morning on his show. It's demonic activity.
There you go. I got to go. Hey, thanks for the call, Joe. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening. All right. We'll be right back with more stimulating conversation about, I don't know where we're going here.
Well, it's getting good. We're getting phone calls.
That's something, I guess. I don't know. Maybe everybody's tuning out because they're sick of hearing about UFOs. But anyway, we'll be right back right after this. 25 minutes before the top of the hour, and we've had a caller patiently waiting on the line talking with Shane. So, caller, you are on the air. What's going on?
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
So there's been a lot of discussion this morning about the unknown and the unnatural and evolution and one thing or another.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to suggest to everybody that's listening to pick up a book called Darwin on Trial, and it was written by a man by the name of Philip Johnson. He was a professor, I believe, at Stanford, and his forte was research. But to cut to the chase, he writes this book. I believe it was in the 80s. I'm not sure. You can still get the book. It's not, on the bookshelves, but you can get it. But essentially, he takes a look at evolution as it's taught and believed as, an ultimate doctrine, But essentially, he looks at the fossil record, the biological problems of everything that could conceivably occur during the evolutionary process. And it's fascinating. It's not for somebody that doesn't understand how to read, but it's a good read. And essentially, he looks at all the aspects of, in the evolutionary process, how, for instance, did a bird become able to fly when it was in the process over hundreds of millennia developing a wing or whatever? Or how did the eye develop incrementally?
Sure.
One of the most fascinating sentences he ever comes across, to me anyway, in the book was, ultimately he suggests that the theory of evolution actually occurring would be similar to a tornado ripping through a junkyard, and when the storm abated, a fully assembled 747 jet was sitting there.
Very good.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if you read that book, you will realize that there is a creator, and that the theory of evolution that's been put on America through in the schools for decades now is nothing but a false theory that scientifically is impossible for it to ever have happened. And we're taught that, it's a fact, and it isn't a fact. And when you look around us and we have elephants and trees and grasses and apple trees and elephants and tigers and people and everything else, to assume that all of this occurred through a chance, if you go all the way to the beginning of evolution, it's the primordial soup where conditions were just right and some single cell creature emerged from the swamp, right? Another difficulty that he addresses in his book is evolutionary theory teaches us that mammals were descendants of reptiles. So again, we have a very difficult problem here because reptiles are cold-blooded, they lay eggs, they have completely different respiratory systems than mammals do. Mammals are warm-blooded, they give live birth, not eggs. So there's all kinds of problems that it's an interesting read, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
Darwin on Trial is the name of the book. Philip Johnson is the author. I suggest anybody that wants to be enlightened as to why you actually might be here and have a purpose in life, you should read it.
All right.
You all have a good day.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call. All right. Yeah, one of the things I've always wondered about, Shane, if you take the dog, the cat, the horse, the wildebeest, the giraffe, the tiger, the antelope, deer, all have the same rear leg design.
Correct.
All across the world.
Correct, exactly.
So I don't know whether that's just a natural because of speed, self-protection, that was the design that won out, or or what?
The most recognized brilliant guy of the 20th century was Einstein, and he said, if you don't believe in miracles, open your front door, look outside, everything is a miracle. Anyway, context for our listeners about Antarctica.
Yeah.
Positioned asymmetrically around the South Pole, excuse me.
Yeah.
And interesting about it is that there are large rivers and lakes. The longest river is the Onks, and the largest lake is Vostok. It covers 5,400,000 square miles, making it the fifth largest continent, and it's about 1.3 times larger than Europe. 11,165 mile coastline. But here's the fascinating thing about it. 98% of Antarctica is covered by an ice sheet. It's 1 mile thick, and the continent has about 90% of the world's ice, so thereby about 70% of the world's fresh water. If all the ice were to melt, it would raise the oceans by 200 feet.
Well, all right.
In most of the interior, the continent precipitation is very low, and it's the driest spot on the planet.
Yeah. Wow.
So there you go.
Okay.
There's your interesting information for Antarctica to talk to your kids about today.
Okay. Let's go back to the phones. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Good morning. This is Charity.
Hi, Charity.
I hope I called with enough time to say something.
Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay. So you had a previous caller who had mentioned that the scriptures support, I think he said, alien activity, and he referred to the Nephilim. And I just wanted to clarify for your listening audience who don't know this, that the word Nephilim is Aramaic for sons of God. And Hebrews, Paul says, to which of the angels said he at any time, thou art my son. I think that was a good refute of the idea that the Nephilim were angelic beings or alien beings. Instead, they were actually of the lineage of Adam, and they were referred to as the sons of God because they were full of the wisdom and power of God. And they married the daughters of men, who were the daughters of Cain, who had come from the lineage of the fallen, the sinful man who had first committed murder. And anyway, and then after they married them, it talks about their wisdom having become carnal wisdom, and they became great and famous men on the face of the earth. Anyway, I just thought I would ground that conversation a little bit, bring it back to Earth, because there's no spiritual angelic mixing of humans and angels. And then also I just wanted to add my own UFO story to this mix. And I don't believe in alien beings other than the spiritual realm. But at the same time, I do believe that there are things that we do not understand. There's technology, just like what Shane had mentioned earlier about being able to take electricity out of the air and receive it at your house or your car. That's never occurred to me before. I was like, what? But anyway, that doesn't mean that it's not capturable. And I believe that there are technologies out there that we're not, the average person is not familiar with, but people are experimenting all the time. And anyway, I was at my house. I live on Huffine Lane, and I was at my house one day, or actually I was leaving my sister's house, walking to my house, which is about a half a block away. And on my street, as I was walking toward my house, it was dark. It was summertime, but it was dark, so it must have been 11 o'clock at night or something like that. And above me, in the sky, and it appeared to be near my house, were lights that looked to be like a winged vehicle, but they were sitting still in the sky as though they were hovering. I heard no sound from it, but there were definitely lights that allowed me to be able to see the span of the wings had to have been about 20 feet. So at first I thought that must be a drone or something like that, but why is it hovering? And I could see that there was perhaps a cab on it, but it wouldn't have allowed a person to fit inside. And this was only from the lights that were on it. And as I walked toward it, it didn't move. It just remained, and I would say it was about 20 to 30 feet off the ground. And as I got closer and closer, I came within probably 30 yards or so of it, and all of a sudden the wings folded upward, and the thing spun like 180 degrees, and then it just slowly moved off towards the horizon. And I don't know how well you get a picture of that, me describing it over the phone, but it was very surreal to me because I know that there are planes that can hover, but I thought they always made noise, and this one made no noise. And then also I've never seen an object be able to spin, like turn like that, without moving. and then it moved off at a very slow pace, but once again, there was no noise at all. Anyway, that's my UFO story, and all UFO means is unidentified flying object, so because I can't identify it, that's what I named it.
Hey,
anyway,
thanks, Charity.
Thank you.
Thanks for the call. All right. We got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. 12 minutes for the top of the hour. We've got a caller waiting on the line and another one calling in, so let's go to the phones. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on the air. What's going on?
Well, I was wondering if I can give my 2 cents to the Art Bell Show.
Absolutely. Come on in.
Well, to the gentleman in the Bridgers with these lights taken off at a 90-degree angle.
Yeah.
I think that's these unmanned drones that the government's been working on.
Oh, really? Well, could be.
Well, I mean, I think they're about, 20, 30 years ahead of what we actually see, just like with the stealth bomber and stuff.
Smart bombs and all the things we saw in Baghdad. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and so I just read an article the other day where they had these inexpensive new fighter drones that they can build between $3 and $6 million.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that might have been what he saw.
Could be.
Yeah, and I think the age of the pilot is over, and you'll see that in the next 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you guys were talking about AI earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And, something that really kind of concerns me about that is with hacking. We're talking about this Chinese technology that's come over to the States with cell phones and how they think that they can be recording information off that kind of stuff. And I'm kind of wondering what's going to prevent people from hacking into AI, such as these unmanned cars or other technology.
Well, that's a worry. They were talking this morning about Alexa keeping track of your voice, what you ask for, all kinds of information that you use on your cell phone and everywhere else. Privacy is no longer privacy anymore, I don't think.
No, it's null and void.
Yeah.
It's amazing what people give up for convenience.
I know. Yeah, that's the whole point. Yeah, that Facebook's been all over the courts for the last 3 or 4 years for sharing information with people and whatever. So
well, sharing it and you can never delete it offline.
I know. Yeah,
forever.
Once it's there, it's pretty much there. So hey, thanks for the call.
Yeah, thanks for letting me give my 2 cents.
No problem. Hey, thanks a lot. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Call you on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Good morning. Tom, do you mind if we bring this conversation back down to earth?
I don't mind at all. I'm not sure I even wanted to go this far with UFOs and stuff, but go for it.
Okay, so we were watching PBS over the weekend, and I believe this program was recorded on May 4th, and they were interviewing Kristen Gillibrand. And she starts out, first of all, I guess, with President Trump being an idiot and a coward because he had the kids locked up in these cages. Well, did she forget that those cages were put up during the Obama era?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she did.
And to call him a coward, I mean, he withstands so many attacks from every angle, and yet he usually carries himself with grace and of course he's going to defend himself. But anyway, she said she would be campaigning on 3 different issues: the Green New Deal and free health care and free college for everyone. Well, it sounds good to me. I mean, wouldn't you sign up for free health care, Tom?
Absolutely, of course. Yep.
Yeah, and free college for our kids. Well, maybe in my case, grandkids. I don't know. That sounds good to me, huh?
I would love a bunch of high school dummies taking up space from legitimate students in college.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is, though, I mean, they say it's free, but who's going to pay for it? I mean, wouldn't you and I?
Well, you'll pay for it. I mean,
Americans?
Stop whining. You'll pay for it.
No kidding. I mean, just the Green New Deal itself, if they want to get rid of petroleum-based products, we have to get rid of every car that's on the highway now, retool it in some way, or everyone's buying new cars. And what about everyone involved in the petroleum industry itself? We'd have all these petroleum plants. They'd have to disassemble everyone and there's so many different satellite companies and industries that are outgrowths of that petroleum industry. I mean, all those people would be out of jobs.
Yeah.
How are they going to pay taxes to pay for this stuff if they don't have a job?
Well,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
well, the serious thing is we'd be out of deodorant. Come on. I mean, that alone. I mean, it's bad enough we've got, you can't walk through downtown San Francisco without hitting a landmine, but come on, everybody's smelling bad at the same time.
And free college education's already solved. I mean, the top 100 universities in the United States have large enough endowment funds now from the greatest generation and the baby boomers to pay all the tuition for any students that they have or they can educate. So the government doesn't have to pay for it. You don't have to pay for it. There's money there in their endowment funds to pay for it. So when academia finally wakes up to that reality and accepts it, then there will be a free education.
There you are.
It's just crazy. I mean, think about the taxes. They would be going up like 20 to 40 times what we now already pay. And she was suggesting, well, if you do a year of community service, you get 2 years of free college. Well, community service generally doesn't, bring out revenue. It doesn't generate revenue.
Yeah. You could cleaning the street doesn't make a whole lot of bucks.
Yeah. So I mean, anyone who thinks that the Democrat platform with all these different programs they want to promote, well, they sound great, free, but it's not, because someone has to pay for it, and that someone would be the taxpayers, because government doesn't generate revenue itself. It's
I know.
kind of scary to think that so many people think that all these things would be great when they don't realize it would affect their own pocketbook if they're a hardworking American with a job and they generate income and they're going to have to pay taxes. It's hard to believe.
Amen. I'm with you there. That's why we're waiting for the debates that are going to be so inciting. To see all these people sit up there and promote all this free stuff with no idea how they're going to pay for it. And,
I mean, just like the saying, freedom isn't free.
Amen.
People had to die and pay for that. They paid with their lives to defend this country. Freedom isn't free. And free health care and free college and Green New Deal is not free. Someone has to pay for it. And that someone's going to be taxpayers if these things come through.
Yeah, sooner or later, there's a bill lands on someone's desk.
Oh, man, and that bill would be astronomical.
Yes, it will.
Astronomical. No one would be able to afford anything else with all the taxes we'd be paying.
That's right. Yeah, we just wouldn't make any money at all. We just, IRS would be, how much do you make? Send it in.
Oh, and we better all go stock up on deodorant, like you say, Tom.
Amen. Better start buying that stuff right now. Toilet paper, too. There you go. All right. Thanks for the call. Hey, we appreciate it. Thanks for listening. All right. Mike McCormick will be in the house here in a few minutes, and we'll be chatting with him. Let's see. From our text line, let's see. If we evolved and mutated to what we are now, every scientist knows there's no such thing as a good mutation.
There you go.
Our tax dollars mutate into the coffers of MOR, universities, etc., to prop up a theory. Poor little AOC wouldn't be able to use Uber anymore to get around, nor use the garbage disposal in her new digs. That she didn't know how to use a garbage disposal or what it was, but the SR-71 Blackbird was revealed in 1978, but the working prototype was made in 1959. During the same period that global warming has been happening here, it has also been taking place on Mars and other planets. SUVs? How about the fiery ball?
There you are.
All right.
Okay, I got less than a minute, so I want to get this in because the caller asked about lightning. Very important.
Okay, yeah.
Lightning is instrumental in protecting the planet by creating ozone. Lightning strikes occur about 1.4 million times a day on the planet. It protects the planet from ultraviolet light of the sun, and it creates an electronic pulse, EMP, a natural electronic pulse. 3 types of lightning. intra-cloud, which occurs within a single thunderbolt unit, cloud to cloud, where there's intercloud lightning between two large clouds, and cloud to ground, which a lot of people see a lot of time. And that primarily originates in a thundercloud and terminates on the Earth. The interesting thing about this is man has had to create what's known as a surge protector or transient voltage surge suppressor, TVSS, to allow protection for our cars and other transient electrical current that may alter the physical properties and affect everything electronic.
Okay, there we go. Let's see, from our poll line, or from our text line, I should say, there is more to heaven and earth than dreamt of in your philosophy. Shakespeare said that. So, let's see. Regarding the poll question, I'll put in the first vote for Candace Owens as the first woman, the first black woman for president, and I would second that certainly. The monthly meeting of the Psychotic Friends Network. That's what we had here last hour, I guess. Whatever. So, and let's see. Tesla already invented a way to pull electricity from the air for free. No one can get through the dome, and Antarctica is an ice wall. Oh, and the government is not your friend. So, if Christopher Columbus was a horrible person for helping colonize the Western Hemisphere, what right do we have to go into space and possibly, undoubtedly change any planet or its life forms? Also, for the calendar, Livingston's Farmer Market begins today, so this afternoon, so there you are. All right, we will return right after these important words. Hopefully Mike McCormick will show up here shortly, and otherwise we'll keep going. So hang in there. Another hour of Morning Soapbox yet to come. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back, everyone. It is 6 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock. It's Wednesday, May 29th, 2019, 57 degrees outside. Shane Tallman is on the line with me from Vancouver, half man, half amazing, and in-house, of course, paying his weekly visit, Mike McCormick, McCormick Financial Services. And, of course, it's an obvious segue from UFOs and cattle mutilations to investing.
It makes perfect sense because you can't make sense of either one, right?
That's
in the long term, you can say, yes, we'll be in contact with any extraterrestrial. In the long term, stocks go up. In the short term, right now, it's pretty bloody out there right now. It
is a full week of down days.
It hasn't just been a full week either. It's, you know, usually the way this has been going is we sort of bubble up higher and you don't really notice and you say, whoa, look, I made a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Right now we've been sort of the opposite day, right? We've been bubbling over or whatever. And you know, like when you cook rice and it overflows and makes a mess of your stove.
You need to put a wooden spoon on that pot.
Yeah, something needs to happen. So we do have a situation where the S&P 500 is about flat for 1 year right now. If this sell-off gets a little bit deeper, it's going to be a long ride back to where you started, kind of the roller coaster where you get off where you got on and say, "Ooh, I feel a little bit sick."
If you have that index, you might want to.
Well, I think the
buckle up.
Right. I mean, we knew that this was going to be a volatile time, and we knew this for a variety of reasons. Right now, the situation is that we've got an inverted yield curve, which is, you know, don't crash the car, don't change the channel. I'll explain it in a real simplistic terms. But this is where, you know, I always say the bond market is 10 times the size of the stock market. Mm-hmm. And people always say, well, the smart money does what the bonds do. You watch what is happening in interest rates. The bonds just are, people are loaning money out, whether it's the government or a company, and there's an interest rate associated with that. What's the cost of money? And that changes, of course. Now, the Federal Reserve sets the short end of that, and they don't set the long end. The long end is a pure auction. And so the Fed has been raising interest rates on the short end. We're up to where you can get 2% on your short-term savings, on your money market account at most banks. If you have a big enough deposit, you can get a 2% return, which I've been telling people here and on the air and clients is a great, great opportunity for people to take a little bit more than their emergency money. I call it opportunistic money, rainy day money. Everything's expensive right now, so you should have a little bit extra in here, and you should have put it in a 2% CD or 2% money market. Well, if you go out to the 10-year, you don't get as much. It's less than that. and you should be rewarded for tying your money up for longer. So we have an inverted yield curve. Now, if you go out to 30 years, it gets up to 3%. It's usually about that. That's sort of a long-term interest rate, a long-term inflation rate. So we've got a problem where why would anybody want to loan money out longer when they can make money by making it shorter? And it just turns everything a bit upside down. And so until that's resolved, there's going to be volatility. There's going to be uncertainty. There's going to be big calls for gloom and doom. And the Fed, they talked about raising interest rates in December, which caused a huge sell-off Christmas Eve. Then they rolled that back, said, no, we're not going to raise rates. Now the speculation is that they're going to lower interest rates.
Yeah,
I agree.
Right. And one takeaway on this is that nobody knows what's going to happen, right? Because these guys at the Fed are supposed to have the best information. They have, whether it's a PhD or a banker or whoever, they're picked to be the smart person in the room, and they're changing their story all the time.
Yeah. Shane, go for it.
The Fed on the June 18th, 19 meeting this year or this summer will drop a quarter point, 2.25 on the Fed rate.
I think that's a fair bet. I think that's a fair bet. And that would be a defensive move that would recognize that this yield curve, as I mentioned, which is an auction, is not resolving itself. They're not playing along. And so the Fed needs to be sure that they don't, it's like closing the damper too soon on your wood stove. We've got a fire going. It's not raging the way it was, but we've got good coals in there. And if you just tighten it up and say, oh, we're good for the night, it might not make it right now. So the Fed is, I'm with Shane on that one. However, consensus, the people, right? My dad always said those are the people that live in department stores. They think that the Fed is going to not lower rates until the end of the year. June would be a pleasant surprise. What would happen if it came out in June? There'd be a big boom to stocks. It would be a big boost to the economy.
That's what I would think. Anytime you make money less expensive, that's going to help with the tariff situation as well.
Well, it's going to take the eyes off the ball on that one. And the thing about the tariffs is that on a percentage basis, it's not material to a diversified portfolio.
Yeah.
Yet. That's the qualifier in there. Yet. It's the globalization that we went to, unwinding that is something that I've been reading the reports. People pick the obvious ones, autos, chips, technology that's made overseas are the ones that are in the hurt box. But, how's it going to affect General Mills? Probably in ways that are pretty complicated. Probably.
Yeah.
Well, and it also has to do with the global market, the largest equity market now that's trading the most actively of currencies, then government and industry bonds or debt, then the stock markets, equities, and then commodities last place. But the interesting thing is the U.S. wants to challenge the currencies around the world. China's in big trouble. They're at 6.9, almost about to hit 7 on their currency, and the euro's broken 112. So king dollar is the play, and that's what the Federal Reserve is making its determination on interest rates on, no longer on inflation or general markets, real estate,
the job market's fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's all about currencies and the U.S. dollar. It's king dollar, baby.
So Shane, I'm just thinking out loud, and you're the expert on this in the room, and is that so the Fed changes interest rates on the short term, and that directly impacts the value of the dollar, right? A high interest rate is a strong dollar, right?
Correct.
So if it's lowering the interest rate, and yet the dollar still remains strong because of geopolitical forces, because as Tom and I always talk about, we're the tallest midget in the room. We still have the cards. We're not a communist country. We're pretty well put together. The economy's strong. So we can afford to lower our own interest rate. And that's just going to debase everybody else's currency, right? If we're still top dog and top dog lowers, then everybody else gets punished along the way.
Well, I think what it means is that if it's less expensive to borrow money, don't use your own money, use somebody else's, and take advantage of the, Shane pointed out, 7% difference in the currency of China. If you're going to buy something from China and there are tariffs on it, why not save that 7%?
I guess my question is are we risking the U.S. dollar dominance by monkeying around with our rates, lowering our rates?
Well, as long as people think we're safe,
And that's the bottom line,
and
right?
that's the bottom line.
They're going to vote.
The Fed
Supply and
is
demand.
looking at the Fed is looking at the Bernanke papers, and the reason Bernanke did what he did with easing was to save the U.S. dollar and the U.S. economy. But more importantly, is the reality that he recognized that China is a fascist government. It's a capitalist system, and it's collapsing. And he expected that the Chinese market, and Tom and I have talked about this, will collapse.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have 400 million employed Chinese running around the street, and their money has to go somewhere. Well, they go to the safest place. It's chicken.
Yeah,
Chicken
that's
Little.
right.
Money is chicken.
Yeah, that'd be the safest. Well, and also too with the Brexit thing, and
that's right,
and the changes in the political climate in France and in Italy and across Europe, at least England, obviously. There's a chance Farage might be the next prime minister.
That's right. And the reason Europe across the board is down today is because of the elections, the Euro elections this last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's touted that it would move right. Well, it moved right big time.
Yeah.
So things are changing radically as far as Trump land.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to cause anybody concern. I think that fundamentally, we're looking for bubbles, right? We're looking for assets that are out of whack. And yes,
red flags. We're looking for red flags.
Right.
Yeah.
And, of course, by definition, what's going to take the economy down is something that people aren't anticipating, or otherwise we wouldn't have taken it down, right?
Right. Lehman Brothers.
Lehman Brothers. Collateralized mortgage obligations, short-term derivatives, things like that. Well, we have plenty of that back in the system. We do. And we do have Fannie and Freddie exiting the market. There's interesting things happening with mortgage REITs. There's interesting things happening with, Wall Street's going to construct products that will confuse and confound you. But fundamentally, we still have a really good economy. As Shane alluded to, we've got great unemployment. Mm-hmm. We've got low interest rates. We're talking about rates going even lower. What's not to keep the good times from going? And I think that's probably more likely, especially when you consider the stock market of the past 2 years really hasn't done much.
Yeah.
So there's room, time heals, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, go ahead and finish your thought. Then we'll take.
Well, Bernanke seized on the reality that Lipper was the cause of the collapse in 08, 09, and as a result of that, the bottom line now is that the Fed rate is now more important because banks have enough money not to borrow money overnight.
There you are. Let's take a call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane and Mike McCormick. What's up?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Hey.
Hey, I fail to see how this conversation you're having fits into the whole UFO scenario.
I know, yeah.
That was the, dialogue and focus for this morning.
Well, come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mike can't advise you to invest in Mars, so,
Hey, I got kind of a philosophical question for you guys. The old school of strategy, you really look at a company, its solvency, and, its true value, and you make assessments based upon that and the old buy and hold, philosophy. Things are so dynamic now, and so much of it seems to be emotionally based on this investing. And then since we, can trade in a nanosecond and, we're into this global economy where, something happens overseas and 10 seconds later, the market collapses. I just wanted to ask all of your opinion and Mike's too, what, that old strategy or philosophy used to use with portfolio diversification. Does that even have a place, do you feel, in investing in this modern day, global economy? And I'll hang up to hear your response, but I'd really like you guys to dialogue that a little bit.
Okay, sure.
And, hey, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call. Yeah. I would say index funds, look for something that's doing well. Healthcare, some other things.
It's a wonderful question, and I think that we need to talk about technology a bit.
Yep, that too.
In the old days, there was just not a lot of ways to fundamentally understand how a company was doing. You might be a value line subscriber. You might have a news source from Dow Jones, and you'd get information about the company fundamentals. You'd read their earnings reports, and you'd do your homework, and you'd be the Jim Cramer student of stocks. And if you took the time to pay attention and had good access through a broker to the markets, you could effectively be a great investor. You could be your own mini Warren Buffett. You're not going to get the inside tips because back in the old days, there were inside tips that happened too. Today, everybody has access to the same information. It is on the interweb, and it is on there instantaneously. So with transparent information, there's less inefficiencies, there's less opportunities. That's one angle to look at this, right? Okay, well, if everybody knows the same thing, and I think I've got a hot tip, I'm probably wrong. That's the right view of this, right?
Well, it comes down to let's say Chrysler Fiat is going to, or Renault's going to buy Chrysler Fiat. What you need to know as an investor is what is that going to affect that I don't see right now? What is that? Is that going to? Should I invest in seat covers or hubcaps or?
Well, and with this trade war too.
Yeah, exactly. So
mergers and acquisitions, IPOs. But put it in this context: Tesla was on a tear because momentum trades were working really well until Elon Musk got on the interweb smoking weed.
Yeah. and predicting 500,000 cars. Or
how
something.
do you model that one?
Right.
And so
that's what I'm saying.
So thanks to transparency, the value of doing the work has been diminished. Subsequently, we now have these things called index funds. Index funds allow you to invest all in one type of family of stocks or bonds.
Dow Jones. You can invest
in the Dow Jones, but you
yeah.
can invest in companies that are raising their dividends. You can invest in companies that don't do things with tobacco or firearms. You can invest in companies that fit your whatever, right? We'll slice the pizza however you want. And you can do it in one lump sum, and you can pay hardly anything for that diversification.
Yeah.
So that's the default. That story plays out. You should be doing that.
And it's a protection because some stocks may go down and some others may go up.
And you're diversified right there, right?
You're not crashing the waves on the shore. You're going the up and down in the middle of the ocean.
So my story is don't try and be clever because when you try and be clever, you end up not making money. The people that study Jim Cramer's picks point out, you'd be just as good in an index fund. Warren Buffett says buy an index fund. Everybody's saying buy an index fund. That said, there are a few mutual funds that seem to be able to do well in this type of economy. Now, take this to the future. Take this out to the future. If everybody's indexing, meaning if everybody's just putting one poker chip in and buying the whole portfolio with one ticker, SPY, whatever it might be, then how does diversification happen?
Yeah.
It goes out the window. The stock market is an on or an off switch. And that's what I'm really interested in studying. I had a grad student work with me recently, and we're trying to identify are correlations becoming tighter, meaning that when we have these sell-offs, yes, we've always known that when we had that Christmas Eve sell-off, everything gets sold. The baby with the bathwater, everything gets thrown out. But as we build back up, is it equitable? As we have these little micro sell-offs that we're having today, 200 points isn't that big of a deal anymore. Is there a benefit to diversification? My argument and how I position myself is you can get down in the weeds really deep to save a few nickels. But the big picture that's going to help listeners on this show is making sure that they don't have to liquidate their retirement funds during times of hunger.
Yeah.
That's the big decision, that they have the right mix of bonds and stocks. Not that they have the right mix of large cap and emerging market companies. No, that's important. But over the long term, it's going to be the big money decisions. Did you finance a car when you shouldn't have? Did you, buy your house at the top of the market? Did you have enough emergency money? And are you making regular contributions in this market? I just urge people, don't try and get clever with it. Recognize that you're outgunned and you just want to ride along. You want to be rising with the tide out there. And I do think that these little sell-offs that were happening right here, especially based on what Shane and I are in agreement, that we're likely to see a Fed cut sooner rather than later. There's opportunity out there for sure. I think that there's opportunity to slowly get back in. Just be careful because there's a lot to worry about out there.
Well, you stay with good companies that pay a dividend and, have a track history.
And so, again, Tom, I'm arguing that matters less these days. It is a correlation game, and it's one of those ones where be careful paying a stock jockey to pick one of the over the other. Only 10%.
Well, I'm talking more about index funds than I am individual stocks. But
right, pick the big picture ones that make sense.
Okay,
for
well,
you.
I got to disagree with both of you.
I like
All
it.
right,
I was hoping.
here we
I was
go.
fishing. I was dragging my streamer through your waters right there.
Shane making radio great again. Here he goes.
Here we go.
It'd be a boring show otherwise.
The stock market, the stock market potential bubble is index funds. Be careful, folks. They're dangerous. They're oversold. The distribution of them isn't clean. Owning Amazon gives you an example of indirect ownership in Uber, because Amazon's one of the largest shareholders in Uber. I think the view that people should take is very simple. Berkshire Hathaway was successful doing it. Warren Buffett was successful doing it. Buy stocks that only pay a dividend. If they pay a dividend, they're a good company. They have the cash flow to meet that dividend. If they don't pay a dividend, sell them and find something else that does. Buy what you use at home as far as products and so forth. The reason for the market today is not just Brexit and the EU vote this weekend, but crude oil is now $57.80, down $1.22. Largest commodity traded in the world, and people are concerned about it. Brent's even ahead of it by $12 now at $69. Now, gold isn't safe, and neither is silver. The only place safe right now is government bonds. So when interest on government bonds drop, the value of the bond goes up. You should be looking towards either buying them now, or when you see them move up before the December decision, maybe sell bonds. And the reason for that is $16 trillion of your debt is held in the United States, and you can buy that at a 10% margin. In the big banks and the big market players do that. So it's not that your debt is dangerous, but you've got to watch your ownership of it because of the margin calls that could result in a down market. So there you go.
Shane, I want to hear a bit more about the index fund concern, because I've read into this and I'm just clearly not buying it. But the index funds have taken $1.4 trillion away from actively managed mutual funds. $1.4 trillion. They're getting to be about 50% of the market.
That's why it's a bubble.
So it's an obvious place to point to it.
Yeah.
But at what point does it just become a more efficient way to operate? As I understand it, the concerns are that these are computers doing the trading, and so like Christmas Eve, when everybody just press sell, one index fund on top of another is just selling at the market price, whereas in an actively managed mutual fund, you've got a rational person saying, no, we're not going to sell our holding at that price today. We're going to wait, or we're going to somehow get a better deal or sell something else. Is that fundamentally what you're saying? The liquidity trap of...
Yeah, what I'm saying is the most fundamental factor of all markets, stock, commodities, government bonds, currencies, is distribution. And right now, index funds are held in a modest but strengthened position, particularly at banks. So if there's any change in the equity markets or the commodity markets, particularly oil, that causes a turn in the market, because it could still correct. He hasn't done a deal with China yet, not to say he won't. But the EU is falling apart. Brexit will happen. He's going to have to renegotiate with Europe on everything. So there's so many things that your president's, looking at. And he's very wise to this because he's got smart people. These guys know this game. I mean, they've been around for a long time, obviously. But, yeah, I just think that, we always look for markers. And as you just said, the shift to index funds of such a massive amount creates a bubble. That's
huge.
Just
But if you look at the 10-year bond at 2.22 or wherever it is, 2.25, I mean, inflation eats that, plus you got another buck in taxes.
Yeah, but it's the safest place to run, Tom.
Well, safest place to run and lose.
But we're talking about leverage and return. Yeah. So if the interest rates on bonds go down, the price of the bond goes up. So it's costing people more money to move their money into bonds, particularly U.S. bonds or U.S. debt.
Yeah.
And that's good for the American dollar, because more that comes here makes it more powerful and creates the integration of expansion, innovation, and rebuilding America with more industry, more companies, more growth. And that's the bottom line here. Who's going to grow?
Yeah.
There's no one else set to grow. The only place left in the world is the U.S. And on top about it, the biggest thing about this, the biggest marker, is the increase in salaries. That's the biggest marker you could be looking at right now.
That's true. Yeah,
we've been waiting for that, and it's creeping, but creeping.
Well, so far on my 10-year bond, I'm down 62% for the year. So.
That's right.
All right. Well, we're getting down to the bottom of the hour here, guys. We'll continue on. Mike McCormick in the house, McCormick Financial Services. Shane Mataman on the line with me with somewhere. He's in Vancouver. That's where he is. I remember now. Tom Eaglehoff, your morning mayor in the house. We'll be back. Can you stay another segment?
Yeah, I can stick around for sure.
All right. So Michael will be here. So if you got any questions.
Keep defending index funds is what I'll keep doing.
There you go. All right. All right, we'll be back with more, so stay tuned. Hey, don't forget our KMMS app, AM 1450 KMMS. You can message us directly from that app. Just go up in the left-hand corner, look at the 3 bars up there, click on that, click on the logo, and you'll be on a screen there where you can send us a direct message and never miss a minute of the show. So we'll be back right after this, so stay tuned. I always turn you up too soon. You're talking away, and I haven't even started yet. So, News Radio AM 1450 KMMS in Bozeman, 1340 KPRK in Livingston. Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. Now Shane can talk, and we do have a caller, Shane. So let's go to the phones. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on the air with Tom and Shane. And Mike McCormick, what's up?
Daniel R. Peterson is the name.
Yeah.
DRP, welcome.
Yeah, since Michael McCormick is a gentleman and he won't go for my jugular vein, I'm going to ask the unaskable question. I know that Mr. Capitalism, Henry Ford, wouldn't touch the stock market. Maybe the people who came after him ran with the crowd, but in his autobiography, he didn't trust the international bankers or the high-stakes stock market. So what if the stock market just keeps slip-sliding? What if it shows itself to be too riddled with insider manipulation, sophisticated gambling, and a false foundation, and it becomes like a dinosaur and goes belly up? What would replace the stock market, if anything? Would it? Why not just go to each company as an individual now that we have sophisticated technology, and not even have these middlemen that push and pull and trick us into investing?
What makes you think the company wouldn't trick you into investing?
Well, that's why we go to the company because we think that it's going to be a good company and not one that is just for the money.
Well, yeah, I would argue that we've actually been doing that, DRP. It's if you remember, the flash trading thing, right? There's very little trading that goes on the floor anymore today. I'm not even sure if there is. I see pictures of it, and I'm wondering what they're doing.
Yeah.
So we got rid of that layer, right? Was 10,000 Guidos in Long Island and other areas in New York that were on the floor making money on big spreads between what people wanted to buy a share for and versus what people want to sell a share for.
Yeah.
That spread has decreased to 10% of what it was, if not less. Now, with the index fund shift, we're going after the next layer of intermediaries, which is the people that are choosing Coke over Pepsi. And there are some concerns that there's value to choosing Coke over Pepsi and not just buying them both. And that's what Shane and I were debating over there. Next layer of fees is people like myself. We're going higher up, right? People like myself that are saying, oh, no, I can invest this money for you, and we just press a button and do it, and then we go golf, right? And so now you can go direct to Vanguard, you can go direct to Schwab even, and that's who I custody with. You can do it without us. So the fee compression is allowed investors to get more efficient. Now, the idea of a public market going away, in a dystopian world, that would happen. However, there's good benefits to it because a good company can't get their word out and be accessible to everybody on the planet without a public market system like that. And so I think that that's probably in value for both sides to have a big liquid. Hey, I've got a great product. I'm an ethical, well-run company. I don't want to have to tell you my story through door-to-door salespeople. I want to be able to tell you my story through a whole mass media and due diligence and SEC validated platform. Now, I also think that we should recognize that because of the benefits of tax deferral for retirement accounts, 401ks, IRAs, and things like that, because of the lack of retirement savings, because Social Security only pays an average of $1,230 a month, we have created a system that is propped up. We are in a situation where the stock market might go up just because of population growth and people needing to save for retirement, and because of the system of tax deferral that we've created. And I just read that the creator of the 401k, I believe, just passed recently. Anyway, we've got a system that's propped up by this, and I don't see it going away. And that, more than anything else, is why over time, if you close your eyes, if you turn off the news, if you throw out your statements, and you've got a decent portfolio set up, you're probably going to make money. And that system hopefully sticks around. And if it was needing to be replaced by something, I think it would probably look a lot similar. You know, instead of owning shares of companies, you might own, I don't know, they'd call them something else, value units or something like that. But we create markets, public markets. You can trade commodities, as Shane's very familiar with. You can trade currencies. You can trade debt. You can trade shares of companies. Maybe soon we'll be able to trade people's student loans. I mean, you can already. So we can commoditize anything and trade it on the market. And I think that actually is a good value add to society. I don't think, if you're concerned about, it all going away, yeah, go ahead and allocate 15 to 25 grand in beans, bullets, diesel, whatever it is that makes you happy.
Yeah.
And then get on with your life, because you can't afford to not save for retirement. You can't afford to put some in a tax deferral vehicle like your 401k. And if you want to break trail doing it on your own, good luck to you.
All right. We got to take a break. Thanks for the call, and we'll be right back. 14 minutes for the top of the hour, and we've had a caller patiently waiting on the line, conversing with my co-host, Shane Montalban. Let's go to the phones. Caller, you are on the air. Thanks for waiting. What's going on?
Well, Shane already answered my question.
Oh, well, okay. See ya. Bye.
He's just killing your show out there.
I know. That's what I say. No need for anybody to call in. We'll just put you on hold with him, and the show's over.
Well, it was just a question I had. He answered it for me, and that's cool.
Okay, well, good.
I'm good.
Okay.
So, carry on.
Anything else you want?
Yeah, you send me a check.
Okay. It's in the mail, along with the two other lies.
Yeah, I'm on my way to the mailbox as we speak.
Go for it, man. All right, thanks, Pete.
You bet.
All right.
Okay, I want to speak ill will of index funds. I don't want to speak ill will of index funds.
All right.
But what I suggest to people, and I'm not advising them, I suggest that you talk to your advisor and make sure that whatever index funds you hold in your portfolio, you should sell puts on the future market to protect the downside, or if not, write a open stop loss order on it. That's it's not advice. It's just a suggestion to discuss with your financial advisor.
Okay.
All right.
Piece of cake.
Well, and there's always going to be something new. I mean, what's going to cause the next downturn is probably not going to be discussed first here on the air.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll do some more work on it, but that is something I'm interested in. I do advise my clients to use them. And there are mutual funds that can do pretty similar things. I am impressed with the American Funds lineup. It's basically an index fund. It's huge. They got low fees. So, and I don't cause people concern, but I come across portfolios from other advisors, and I can tell who's taking them out to lunch based upon what they have in their, and this is out of town portfolios. Again, I do value all advisors in this town. You're lucky to live here. There's a lot of great help here. But things change, right? You can get modernized, and you can drop the landline, and you can get with the program. And so we'll see. This trend has been building and building and building. And yes, it's now at a critical point where the money is going with the Vanguard style of investing. Very little of it's not. Hedge funds, as an indicator species, are running scared right now. The 2 and 20 model is disintegrating underneath them. So we'll see the way that things evolve out there.
Okay.
Diversification won't go away.
From our text line, 478-8298, I've been told that commissions on mutual funds can kill your return on investment. What percentage is too high for a commission for a broker?
Great question. Great question. It's so hard for the average person to understand what they're paying. And that's why it's really just have a good advisor. And good advisors can use commission products very well. And good advisors can charge you an annual fee. And good advisors can make it be the best opportunity for you. A mutual fund will typically charge you a front-loaded commission, like a real estate transaction, and that will diminish the amount of money that you have in your investment,
right?
And you'll need gains over time to make it up, as opposed to what I do as a fiduciary. I charge an annual fee. So instead of, taking a pound of flesh up front, I bleed you slowly would be the cynical view of it, right?
There you go. I like it.
And so over time, if you were to buy a commission-based product and hold on to it for a really long time, you'd probably be better off than working with a fiduciary advisor and paying an annual fee regularly. So it's important for me to make sure that I'm providing value to my clients every step of the way. But if you want to find out more, what you do is you go online to any one of the money programs. Maybe it's through where you have your money, but it might be a Yahoo Finance or a Bloomberg or just a Google Finance. You can bring it up. And you can look at expenses. Then you need to discover what share class your mutual fund is. There's lots of different flavors of it.
Yeah.
And different share classes are developed basically to charge fees in different ways. And there's a share class that charges the lowest fee. Well, there's a fee that's embedded for them to run the thing.
Right.
That's the 12. And then there's the 12B1, which is embedded in there to keep some money going to the broker that sold it to you. Now, that's not a bad thing, because I encounter annuities all the time where the advisor took all the commission up front and there's no money left to pay the advisor. Advisor's not servicing the program anymore. It's one of the most complicated investments you can own. There's nobody behind the wheel. It's not a bad thing to be paying an ongoing fee for investment advice. And it's not necessarily a bad thing to be paying an upfront brokerage commission. However, the new school, the reason why index funds are taken over is because they don't have it. And if you don't use an advisor, you can cut your expenses from 1.5% to 2% to close to 0.2% very quickly by doing something like that.
So is over 2 too high?
Over 2 is definitely too high. You don't see that. Now
I think that's what the texture is asking.
Yes.
Is what percentage is too high?
So if you're choosing S&P 500 companies, you should be about 0.6 in an actively managed mutual fund. If you are in an international fund, you might get close to 1. If you're in something really weird like a long short position or something like that, it can be over 1. If it's 1.5%, boy, you better be getting good performance out of that. Now, the upfront sales commissions, they're pretty much set in an active mutual fund of 5.75%. So, these fees are all adding up, right? Just ask. The simple answer, ask.
Yeah.
Like I said, we've got great people in this town. They're not going to lie to you. They're not going to steer you wrong. Just say, well, is there something else and why? And then you'll say, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Or how much is the...
You'd buy and sell homes. You pay 6% both ways. There is a cost of doing business.
Sure.
And
nobody expects you to do it for free, but
nobody expects you to do it for free.
Yeah.
If I might, I'd like to commend Mike McCormick. That's why you call him. He charges an annual fee. It's totally important because that means he does not look at your portfolio monthly and wash trade to generate.
Yeah.
To generate
we
fees.
See that a lot too.
Congratulations, Mike. Everyone should call you.
All right.
Well, and if you do, know that I enjoy visiting with you, and I've got a limited client base, so I do make time for just giving people short, quick advice. I really enjoy it. I value this community. I'm here to try and give back. So know that I'm not here for any other reason than to give you a hand.
All right. We got to do the Rush update. Another Noxatril. If the last break didn't give you enough, we got some more coming.
Oh gosh.
So it'll be after Rush. So stay tuned. Here's Rush. All right, winding down the morning. 3 minutes to go. Shane Taubin, half man, half amazing, and Mike McCormick, completely amazing in the house.
Oh gosh, that's why I only come once a week. And you get to know me. Hey, I want to give a shout out, girls, Hawks. track team, one state, first time in 12 years. I do have a horse in that race, but it's a team of 120 kids, and it's just a testament to the sports community out here. A lot of these kids were multi-sport athletes. It's a day and age where everybody's involved in something, whether it's speech and debate or band or sports. It's a fun thing out there, and I think we should be proud of our community for supporting them so well. We've got some outstanding athletes out there. There were state records broken in long jump and pole vault. Long jump was the main one. Delaney Bond's outstanding. But, it's going to percolate through to the MSU sports as well. We're getting changes that are happening there that are retaining more and more of these kids. As a state, Montana is competing nationally extremely well, and it's exciting to be a part of it. So I just had to give a shout out to congratulations. And the boys team came in third. They were projected to be eighth, so they definitely punched outside of their weight class as well. Congratulations, guys.
Amen to that, yeah. From our text line, 478-8298, Bitcoin's at 85.90.
Oh, gosh, we could do another hour on that.
Is Bitcoin going to 10, Shane, do you think?
Well, I see it as a commodity now. Mike, thanks for being in the house, Mayor. I look forward to talking tomorrow. Everybody be happy, be safe, and enjoy the sunshine.
Oh, gosh, we will.
Take care. All right. All right.
Yeah, let's go after Bitcoin next week.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, the speculation is if it goes to 10, it'll go to 15. So I don't know.
Well, bottom line is it hasn't gone to zero.
Hadn't gone to zero, that's for sure. Gone up and down, but we'll see where that goes. So, Mike, thanks a lot for being here. Mike McCormick, McCormick Financial Services. How they get a hold of you, son?
No login needed. 522-3201, 522-3201. Thanks for having me. Everybody enjoy this wonderful spring day. We've earned it.
It's a nice day out there. So, all right. We'll see everybody bright and early tomorrow. Hey, it's finally Thursday, almost. So, open lines all day tomorrow. So, hopefully you'll tune in, and we'll be happy to have you along with us. So, we appreciate you listening today. Thanks for all the UFO stuff and the cattle mutilation. Couldn't have gotten along without that. So, I think for the last 2 days in a row, we haven't done the 5 things you need to know. So maybe we'll have 15 things you need to know tomorrow. So we'll see everybody bright and early, 6 a.m. tomorrow morning.